where we ended in part 1. And it's not bad, but we need to do everything we can to introduce variety into the flames and make it all look more random. So first thing we can do under the attributes is we have the velocity scale. This gives the fire speed based on the speed of the particle that's emitting it. So we are already giving some gravity, force, and coral noise to the particles, so they already do have some movement. So if I increase the velocity scale to 2, it's basically going to start pushing the fire in the direction in which the particle is going more. So already it's getting more broken up. Random range float, and I'll go between 1.5 and 3. So already if I hit G, definitely a visible difference. The next thing we can randomize is the radius of the particles. So right now each particle has the exact same radius. So we can again introduce a random range, 10 and 12. A subtle difference, but it does make a difference. Next we can go to emitter summary forces, and we are already familiar with how to add turbulence, so we're going to repeat that process. So enable turbulence 1. Turbulence frequency, we want it to be just one number, so vector from float, and I usually just set it to 0.01 to start because that's just the number that works most of the time. And for the turbulence gain, I also want it to be a vector from float, and I'll set the gain to 400 and turbulence speed to 1. So that's definitely helping break up the fire even more. And what we can do is enable turbulence 2. So the reason there are 2 turbulences is because usually in visual effects you would set one frequency pretty low and then one frequency higher, so you get like a small waves breaking up the fire, and on top of that you get some bigger waves, and that's how you get some really random behavior. So I'll enable turbulence 2, change the frequency and gain to vector from float. So now we can do frequency of 0.005 with a value of 500 and a speed of 1. And so that introduces some larger scale waves moving the fire around in big chunks. If you're ever struggling to see the turbulence or you're not sure if it's even working, just crank up the value really high. So I'll do 5,000, and then you can clearly see, you know, what it's doing and what the scale truly is. And then you can just scale it back down after that. So overall, I'm getting happy with the simulation. I still think it's a touch too bright. All we have to do is lower the temperature, maybe just a little bit more. So 0.55 and 0.75. Another issue is we're not getting any fire on the bottom of the ring. So the particles are there, but they're colliding with the mesh right away, and that kind of makes the fire disappear. So what you can do is unlink the Niagara system from the ring, and I will just move the ring slightly higher into the Niagara simulation like this. And then I found it's actually better to move the Niagara system and link the ring to the system than the other way around. So just make the ring movable. Here under mobility, click movable and link the ring to the Niagara system. Alright, so now when I move it up and down, it's definitely better, but when you move it faster, it still kills a lot of the fire because of the collisions. So what we'll do in this case is actually just go under collisions and turn them off completely, because you don't really need it to collide with the ring, and it honestly just looks much better without any collision. So now I can just freely move it up and down, and I have the fire beautifully covering the entire ring, which is what we need for our shot. So now we can add sparks to it, and luckily we already built that, so we can just reuse it. So in our VFX folder we have our NS sparks, so Control D, call it NS sparks underscore ring. And instead of shape location, we want our static mesh location. Control B to locate the ring asset. And then arrow, arrow. Here we go. And I think we're gonna need a lot more particles. So spawn rate, let's try 300 and make it a GPU sim with fixed bounds. Drop it in, reset the location to 0 and link it to our ring of fire. So basically what I want is I want some heavy sparks, almost like debris on fire, to be falling down just like this. And then I want another spark simulation going up with the flames. And it's giving me a warning. That's because the light renderer doesn't work with GPU. So you can just delete the light renderer. We don't need that. Initialize particle and the size. Let's do 1 to 2. So some of them are much larger. So let's call these sparks underscore heavy. And then I will do Control C, Control V. And these can be our sparks underscore light, and these will be going up. So gravity force, let's do 150 to 450 positive with no collisions. I want more of them, so spawn rate, let's do 1,000, but they need to be smaller. So minimum 0.3 with maximum of 0.75. And they're just going up too fast. So gravity, let's do 50 to 250. Nice. So I think this is pretty much exactly how I had it in the trailer for the course. So at this point, I will just switch to my original scene to show you the basic environment and where I put the lights. Okay, so this was my original scene. I actually think what we built together just now looks even better because the fire covers the ring in a nicer way. So I have a simple camera movement, just moving up and to the left, and I animated the ring to go down. Easy breezy. I already showed you how to, make a camera, add it to the sequencer. As far as the environment goes, it's super simple as usual, just a few Quixel Bridge rocks copied around. Then I have this rock here that our main Witcher lady is standing on. Again, just so that I have some kind of a foreground for the shot. I have some blue lights in the back and some orange lights in the front to make it seem like the fire is actually illuminating the environment, right? So if I hit G, you can see that I parented some orange point lights to the ring. So they actually travel down with the ring and illuminate the environment around it. I have one orange light in here illuminating just our main lady and a blue light behind her to give her some nice sort of like a blue rim light on the back. So this is how she's lit. Just like we did in the desert monster scene, I also added some volumetric fog set to 0.25, and I added a post-process volume with a bloom and some contrast, all of which we covered earlier. So I don't want to spend too much time on the environments, just want to keep it focused on the VFX, but I wanted to show you what I did in case you want to maybe build some nice environment to present this with, which I recommend you do. It really makes a big difference. And we will continue with another Niagara setup in the next video.